Snow was falling so heavily that night over the land of Himmelwald that the entire forest looked like a drifting cloud of white smoke. In that biting cold, German scout Anna Weber had become separated from her unit. Snow stung her face, her breaths were breaking, but her steps did not stop. Faraway gunshots echoed through the mountains, confirming that enemy forces had spread everywhere. Anna removed her gloves, placed her hand on the snow to sense direction, when suddenly, a rough hand came from behind and pressed a cloth tightly over her mouth. Her eyes widened, but her voice died within her throat. She was thrown onto the snow, her German uniform instantly freezing, her rifle sliding far away. Enemy soldiers twisted her arms behind her back and tied them so tightly that blood began to seep from her wrists. Dragging her across the icy ground, they pulled her into a ruined bunker. The inside was so cold that mist rose from the walls. As they shoved her inside, a heavy voice echoed, "German scout. You're not leaving alive." Anna lifted her eyes, said nothing, but her gaze held a defiant warning. The commander stepped forward, shining a flashlight directly into her face. "If you refuse to speak, we will try every way to break you," he said. Anna's breath was heavy, a cut on her lips dripping dried blood, yet her eyes did not lower. The enemy soldiers pulled a wooden table to the center, slammed it on the ground, and forced Anna's face down onto it. She groaned in pain. One soldier pressed down on her shoulder, while another placed a knee on her back so she could not move. They repeatedly swung an iron rod so close to her head that it sliced the air beside her ear, the shrill metallic whistle stabbing into her heart. But Anna's eyes did not tremble. The commander heated a metal rod in the flames until it glowed red. The room became a nightmare of freezing air and burning iron. They brought the hot rod close to Anna's face to terrify her, threatening to scar her skin, to break her arms, to shred her strength. A flash of fear passed through her eyes for a moment, but she lifted her head again. Her unbroken defiance only enraged the commander further. Anna was tied to an iron chair, the ropes so tight that her veins bulged. Frost-covered ground lay under her feet, yet her expression held only determination. The commander leaned close to her ear. "Even if we tear you apart," he whispered, "you will talk." Two soldiers stepped forward and smashed a hammer into the ground near her feet, pretending the next blow would land on her hands. Anna's breath caught, but her eyes silently said one word: "No." The night grew longer. Anna was raised, thrown, dragged across the room again and again. Sometimes they pushed her into the snow outside and poured freezing water over her until her body shook uncontrollably. Sometimes they placed a dark hood over her head, plunging her into blind terror, then suddenly grabbed her from behind to shock her senses. All of it was meant to break her mind, to crush her spirit, to force her into submission, but each attack only made her resolve harder. Hours later, she was thrown into a dark cell. The walls were like ice, the floor jagged stone. She trembled with pain, her bones heavy with exhaustion, but her mind whispered only one thing: "I will not break." At dawn, they dragged her out again. Soldiers placed weapons before her, pretending they had captured her team, trying to frighten her into confessing. They shoved her, circled her, and forced her onto the snow again. Every gesture was an attempt to destroy her mentally, physically, completely, but Anna rose every time. Blood dripped from her lips, her lungs strained for breath, but she stood straight after every blow. The commander finally shouted, "Why won't you break?" "Why?" Anna, with a voice cracked by blood and cold, whispered, "I'm a soldier." "Not your victim." Her voice was weak, but it echoed like a battlefield roar. That night, even in the darkness of her cell, the light in Anna's eyes did not fade. She knew pain could slow her, but it could never defeat her.